In 1968, at the National Institute of Mental Health, NIMH, a scientist named John B. Calhoun decided to play the creator. He embarked on a project to construct a massive metal enclosure measuring 9 square feet with high, unclimbable walls and a temperature perfectly controlled at 68 degrees Fahrenheit. He christened this structure Universe 25. In this artificial universe, every fundamental survival need of a living organism was met with absolute abundance. Food was unlimited and automatically dispensed. Water flowed endlessly. There were no predators stalking the shadows. There was no disease. There were no harsh weather conditions. It was a literal utopia, a place every living creature dreams of reaching, a realm where one could eat, sleep, and breed without ever shedding a drop of sweat or blood in struggle. Calhoun initiated the experiment by introducing 4 breeding pairs of the healthiest, most genetically robust albino mice, hand-picked from the laboratory. They were the Adam and Eves of this brave new world. For the first 104 days, Universe 25 experienced a golden age. The population exploded exponentially. The mice were happy, obese, and immaculately groomed. They believed they were living in an eternal dream. But they did not know that Calhoun had not built a paradise. He had constructed a mass grave. By day 315, the population inside the pen hit 620, and precisely at this moment, a strange phenomenon began to unfold. The reproduction rate suddenly and inexplicably slowed down. Why? The food hoppers were still overflowing. The water bottles were still full. Every physical condition was perfect. The problem was not physical resources. The problem was social resources. In the unforgiving natural world, a mature male is forced to fight for survival. He must conquer territory, forage for scarce food, and defend his pack against predators. It is this crushing pressure of survival that creates purpose. It creates a clear, functional social hierarchy. But in Universe 25, no one had to do anything. No hunting was required. No nest building was needed as the apartments were pre-built. When the struggle vanished, the social structure collapsed completely. The old alpha males did not die off due to the lack of natural predators. They continued to occupy the prime spots, but had no duties to perform. Meanwhile, the young males reaching maturity found themselves trapped. They had health, they had testosterone, but they had no empty territory to conquer, no social role to fulfill. They became redundant in their own society. Do we begin to see the chilling parallel with modern human society? When technology and the welfare state solve every basic need, when war and famine are pushed to the margins of history, what do young men do with their surplus energy? As the chaos of the behavioral sink reached its peak, as blood and violence stained the central floor of the enclosure, a new caste of male mice began to emerge. John Calhoun gave them a name that is both ironic and haunting: the beautiful ones. This was the generation born during the peak of abundance. They had never known hunger. They had never bared their teeth to defend territory because there was no land left to fight for. They had never interacted with females because the social structure had disintegrated. Observe their behavior closely. It bears a terrifying resemblance to a significant segment of modern men. The beautiful ones in Calhoun's experiment are the embodiment of behavioral devolution. When the pressure to survive vanishes, the drive to connect and conquer dies with it. They became soulless consumption machines. They were alive, but effectively dead. They were zombies with perfect fur. And what is the most terrifying part? The beautiful ones were not an isolated minority. Gradually, they became the majority. As the old aggressive males died off, this beautiful generation took over the population. But because they did not mate, did not protect the young, and possessed zero social skills, the collapse of the population was irreversible. By day 600, the population of Universe 25 was on a trajectory of inescapable extinction. Although the food hoppers were still full, no new pups were being born. The old mice died of natural causes, leaving behind a ghost city inhabited only by the beautiful ones and aggressive barren females. John Calhoun, observing this event, drew a philosophical conclusion that shook the scientific community, reaching far beyond biology. He called this the law of the two deaths. The first death, according to Calhoun, is the death of the spirit. This death happens first. It occurs when an individual loses the capacity to perform the complex behaviors that define a species: courting, nest building, protecting, fighting, and nurturing. When these behaviors vanish due to a lack of pressure and purpose, the animal is socially dead. It is merely a lump of meat that breathes and consumes. For mice, the spirit dies when they stop socially interacting. For humans, the spirit dies when we lose our purpose. The second death is the death of the body. This is the physical extinction that inevitably follows as a consequence. The most horrifying aspect of this experiment was Calhoun's desperate attempt to save them. He tried removing some of the beautiful ones from Universe 25. He placed them in a new, normal environment, with receptive females, ample space, and ideal conditions to reboot their instincts. The result? Total failure. These mice were permanently broken. Even when removed from hell, they continued their old behaviors: eating, sleeping, grooming, and existing in solitude. They did not know how to mate. They did not know how to interact. They grew old and died alone, leaving no legacy. The lesson here is a red alert for humanity. Behavioral degeneration, once it has persisted long enough, is irreversible. If a generation of men grows up in excessive safety, addicted to cheap dopamine, and completely devoid of real-world hardship, there comes a point where even if you throw opportunities, money, or women at them, they will not know what to do. The human part of them was killed by comfort before the animal part had a chance to grow old. Part 5. The antidote: artificial struggle. So what must we do, we the men living in the human version of Universe 25, surrounded by Uber Eats, Tinder, TikTok, and climate-controlled rooms, to avoid sharing the fate of those mice? The answer lies in clearly identifying the enemy. The enemy is not hardship. The enemy is false peace. Absolute comfort is poison, and the only antidote is artificial struggle. If modern society does not provide you with a war, you must declare one on yourself. You must throw yourself out of paradise to reclaim your instincts. Protocol 1. Simulate scarcity. Your body and mind evolved over millions of years to function optimally in states of hunger and lack. Apply intermittent fasting. Implement a dopamine detox. Cut out porn, mindless social media, and refined sugar. Force your brain to starve so it reactivates the hunting instinct. Do not become the mouse fattened up for the slaughter. Protocol 2. Simulate physical burden. Ancestors carried kills back to the cave. Today, we don't need to do that to eat. Therefore, go to the gym. Lift iron heavier than you think you can bear. Run distances that make your lungs burn. The sensation of muscle pain, sweat, and elevated heart rate is not just for health. It is a vital biological signal sent to the brain. I am still fighting. I am still surviving. This prevents the atrophy of the spirit. Protocol 3. Seek hierarchy. Do not hide in your room like the beautiful ones. Insert yourself into high-competition environments: martial arts, BJJ, boxing, business, or competitive sports. In these arenas, there are winners and losers. There is respect based on competence. There is a clear hierarchy. This brutal social friction keeps your communication skills and masculine frame sharp. You need failure to know where you are weak. You need victory to nurture real confidence, not the delusional narcissism of the virtual world. The experiment of Universe 25 ended in silent death. Not a single mouse survived. But we are not mice. We have consciousness. We have the power of choice. The cage door is open. You can choose to stay inside, grooming your fur and awaiting a painless death in luxury. Or you can choose to step out, embrace the cold wind, embrace the hunger,
and rediscover what it means to be truly alive. Peace is a silent killer. Go find your struggle. Start today.